Today's essay is a little bit closer to a Bloomberg breaking news. The This is my dream scenario where national security meets politics and meets business. Because during the trading session today, Royal Caribbean was up uh, 15+% at times, which was there, some revisions and some, looking forward. There was a lot of optimism about new programs, but there was something missing. And I wanted to dig a little bit deeper because these are strange times, and there are people in places of high of power and influence that have the ability to manipulate markets. And what I found was sort of the outlines of a plan that was truly delightful. It was sort of a marketing joint venture between the Department of Defense, the Trump administration, and Royal Caribbean. And the title of today's essay is Miller's Crossing, because this was the brainchild of one Stephen Miller, who is renowned for being an obsequious prick, but undying loyalty to DJT is kind of his breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Another dynamic that allowed this plan to start to come to fruition was that the Gerald R. Ford carrier battle group, and particularly the carrier itself, is past its a lot of maintenance deadlines. So, as you know, that came from over the Middle East to rush over here to participate in this joyride down in Venezuela and in the Caribbean. Which now that today Donald J. Trump, your president, lifted the controls over the Venezuelan airspace, so that is open, and that just said to me that he's about ready to tap out fully, because he found out that this particular version of corruption 2.0 is going to be a lot harder to make, that he can make more money messing around with crypto and extorting other people, doing deals with his controller, Vladimir Putin, and with China and other ways. That this, extracting oil out of a system that has crumbled in recent years and in the last decade, where the infrastructure just makes extracting oil very difficult, and then getting it into ships and out of Venezuela is a tough ask. So Miller's Crossing, the need for the Gerald R. Ford needs to get towards the dry dock, the work yard, however they term that particular, because it's as big as a freaking football field, but it needs a lot of work, and that will take some time. They got the Abraham Lincoln yesterday or today, officially made it into the Arabian Sea, and so they're setting up to do something probably in Iran with Israeli cooperation, which is going to, the Nick Fuentes and J.D. Vance arm of the what's next in the Republican Party faction are going to be chafing at the bit, because their opinions about our long-term ally Israel, who is understandably, the country of Israel is understandably feeling a sense of relief and joy today as the last hostage, the body of the last slain hostage, uh, came home to Israel and to his family, and they were able to bury him uh, last 48 hours. So that was an important milestone, and sets up a whole another uh, layer upon layer. Bibi Netanyahu uh, round of silliness running up to the elections on the the debates out there on the Zionist, anti-Zionist. Is anti-Zionist the same as being a Mamdani? A lot of silliness and but more profound issues like the last this incredibly brave security officer that was brought home to be buried by his family. So that's a positive thing. So what do you do in the carriers? We don't have an endless supply of them. I guess we have 11, but only 7 of them are available currently, 6, 7, something like that. And we need one to project power in for the FAFO version Middle East. And we need to get old Gerald back to home to get some tune-ups. How do we patrol the Caribbean in hotspots? And also the carrier battle group is now at the $1.4 billion for the FAFO Caribbean project. That's your taxpayer dollars. So that has to end at some point too. But Trump, even when his minions shoot and kill Americans on the streets of Minneapolis, he's not apologizing. He is, and it's sort of anathema to who he is. The people always refer to the Roy Cohn influence of on Donald Trump, his attorney and a infamous and talented and zealous defense attorney. But Roy Cohn was always, you don't take a step back. You always go forward and through, because if you take a step back, then they're gonna kill you. So that's always been part of, in trend. Roy Cohn, not a dignified man, but an extremely effective attorney. Donald Trump's version of that, is more of the caged animal variety, and that's how he always has kind of ruled, as it were. So, excuse me. So, what is it? What does this all have to do with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines? Right. There's the what is it? The Crown and Anchor Club, the VIP, the are you a cruiser? Right? I'm uh, I am not one. I am once upon a time I was fortunate to experiment in that particular form of leisure. Um, but I have members of my family are big advocates, and particularly of Royal Caribbean. So 15% is that's real money, uh, so to speak. So what Stephen Miller came up with, his friends, if you saw Pete Hegseth at the press conference today in the White House, boy was looking rough. I think he looks like he just came off a bender, that he might have whatever those supplements are that you can drink, but there are those things. So you have a better tomorrow. Those they're advertised on some of the podcast platforms. Z Biotics. Right? I am Z Biotics does not proudly sponsor this podcast, but if they're throwing money, I'm their boy. We'll talk later. So Pistol Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, was looking real rough, but there was a little bit of a twinkle in his eye at the end of the 2 hour or whatever it was press conference. And Stephen Miller, somebody from the Department of Defense, apparently leaked some information about what's now known as Miller's Crossing. So the Navy, uh, 15 naval vessels currently in the Caribbean, they want to get them out of there. They want to support the lie that they went in on, which was this is about drugs, even though we all know that the cocaine that travels in that eastern part of the Caribbean is more likely headed to Europe via Africa, and that fentanyl is not part of the program in any part of Venezuela, Colombia, or otherwise. It's Mexico, and that's a whole different. We've talked about that before, and that's a deeper dive because I want to link it back to Myanmar elections, China smuggling of the distillates that constitute the fentanyl production, and we'll do that in more details on another day. Miller's Crossing, what this is right up MAGA's alley, and Trump, and kind of this brings together the Second Amendment, MAGA, cruelty, brought to you by Miller of Miller's Crossing. So what the Royal Caribbean, these are adults only cruises that are 5-day Eastern Caribbean cruises. And also there are a lot of operators that have been working down there in and out of Venezuela in that region, doing participating in these missions and taking out various control points in Venezuela to make that attack to make it safer for U.S. helicopters going in and out. So there were a lot of operators, SEAL team that they didn't talk about, Green Beret that they did, going in there and softening up the AAA, the radar, and all sorts of places, and they pummeled that and killed 175 plus Venezuelans and Cubans, because there are so many Cuban intelligence folks on the ground supporting Venezuela, that a lot of them got done in just by proximity. That was their job, right? They were working in Venezuelan intelligence, as Cuba has always supported that, going back to Hugo Chavez. And a whole bunch of them got caught in the crossfire. Apparently, upwards of 50% of the 170 plus confirmed dead were Cubans as opposed to Venezuelans. So the cruise ship that will be departing from Miami, each passenger, adults only, will be fitted with a rifle and night vision goggles as kind of part of their provisioning when they go to their cabin. And there will also be they will have the benefit of some lectures in the first couple nights as they're moving south towards the southeastern Caribbean, and moving towards Venezuela. They will learn something about operating night vision goggles, and they'll have some opportunities to learn about rifles and some other ordnance that they'll have on board. And this will kind of be a fun adventure that will allow them to feel like they're, it's MAGA hats, you bring your own, and they'll be encouraged to bone up on their marksmanship before they get on board, but there will be a chance for them to train. And by the time they get down there halfway down, what they will be doing is the Coast Guard will be called out of the Caribbean. So when a boat is sighted that may or may not be just any boat, but if there's a the outside chance that it might be carrying cocaine, then the passengers with their night vision goggles will have the opportunity to fire on the vessels from the cruise ship, which I think is an absolutely wonderful idea. Think about the patriotism. You're able to support your president's mission, right? Eliminating drug dealers or fishermen or marooned sailors or whatever they tend to be. But you're doing it under the cover of the U.S. military, and essentially each of the passengers on the boat will be deputized, right? They'll be deputized in sort of in an ICE sense. They can be quickly deputized, and which gives them the permission according to what they'll be told under the Miller's Crossing program, is anything in the water at that point is a target. So just have a good time, and so they'll have some people to support them when they're on the ship, and to make sure that they're pointing the guns away from the boat itself. But other than that, they'll feel empowered to participate in the president's um, mega fueled mission and get their jollies a little bit. So it's really a unique experience. And apparently the initial demand for this particular activity, firearms, alcoholic beverages, and a few days in the sun with like-minded red-hatted individuals was enough to give the stock a little bit of a pop today. So when I get more information about how you too could sign up for this particular cruise, the Miller's Crossing cruise. It's a 7-day, 6-night cruise, and all of the ammunition is provided. Obviously, it's hard to fly from Oklahoma City and Dallas with a bunch of ammunition and firearms, but you'll have all of that provided for you on board, and all the bourbon you can drink, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and and firearms and powwows with actual operators from JSOC, the Joint Special Operations Command, will be on board too to answer your questions about how many bullets went into Osama bin Laden, other kind of special forces questions, anything you might have curiosity about, what it feels like to shoot another human. That will all be part of the program. And these, I mean, the it's about 2 times the normal 7-day fare. So these people are paying thousands of dollars plus airfare. But again, they'll have all it's the bourbon is included, and they've got snacks, pork rinds, grits, collard greens, all of the good stuff, and some nice merch that kind of Miller's Crossing that looks very suspiciously like MAGA merch because, of course, it has to be a tribute to Donald Trump. So, in any case, I just wanted to have the opportunity to disclose this breaking news from the White House and have a chance at trying to. It's hard if you're ever going to try to compete with people like J.D. Vance and make a convincing narrative about something that's absolutely, you know, batshit crazy, then, you have to appreciate the particular skill that he has, and that as American citizens, we're going to have the pleasure of enjoying for a number of years, unless we get our shit together, midterms, 28 general, and stop this madness as soon as we can. Starting right now in Minneapolis, because Homan over Bovino, is it an upgrade? I have no idea. It doesn't matter. They're going to lie about it. They're going to continue doing what they're doing. They're going to move to another city, and they're in Portland, Oregon, right up the way from me. They're just creating absolute havoc up there. And these poor people that are they're leaving people outside. It is legitimately cold, not chilly, not uh, seasonably cool New England weather. It's below 0 Fahrenheit overnight, and these people in Minnesota and Maine are being exposed to that, because always remember that all of this, everything that's happening, is due to the whim of Donald Trump, a reality TV star, not a great leader, not protecting us from a verified threat against our homeland. I don't want to say homeland because that's part of the Nazi recruiting keywords. So from our the America, the United States that we came to know and love, there is no threat. Border policy, Biden era, a little bit, yeah. Were mistakes made? Yes. We can turn the page. We have to. Is is the southern border more secure now than it was a year and a half ago? I would argue that it is. But today, nearing February, that's no longer the issue. That's done. Attaboy, whatever, high five, good on you. That's not our issue any longer. Our issue is they're putting 10 bullets into ICU nurses. They're putting 3 bullets into a mother of 3, both in the same city. And we're not getting all the information, because obviously they scrambled, they extracted the shooters, Alex Preddy, that incident. The shooter. Yeah, well, they've been reassigned. No, they're not on the street. What are the names? Oh, well, we were conducting an investigation. We can't release that information right now. They're not cooperating with state officials. So, yeah, was there a border problem? Was there an inflation problem? Were prices too high? Yeah, they were. Coming out of COVID, supply chain, it lingered. Did everything they could. Interest rates were managed properly by Powell. Biden's 2 biggest sins were not speaking more compassionately about what the American public was feeling about the impacts of higher prices. He wasn't denying that it existed, like the current occupant of that once beautiful building. And was there a period of time when the policy at the border, whether it was, uh, you know, uh, statistically, uh, is it still the case that Obama, in fact, deported more people than Trump did by this point in his second. I don't know exactly, but again, we're past that. We have people that are not trained for the. If you heard on the news the other day, the reason that the number of days of training relates not to any empirical, scientific, or law enforcement lesson, but it has to do with the fact that the 47 days of training is because Donald Trump is a 47. Believe it. It's it's Donald Trump. Anything is believable. So when you call Royal Caribbean and you ask them about getting the Miller's Crossing package, they may be a little bit coy originally, but I would stay with it. I would insist that and find out, because this policy is shifting. Will you be able to keep the night vision goggles at the conclusion of the cruise? That's important. I think you have to give the guns back. I'm not again, it just came out today. They're still workshopping it too. Is there a quota? Are they expecting each cruiser to kill at least 3 people in order to offset the withdrawal of Coast Guard and naval forces in the Caribbean? Those are the little details that will be worked out before these cruises start in February. You know, But I guess if you're interested in such a thing, just having legal justification for shooting humans that are clinging to boats, or at boats at midnight carrying a couple pounds of cocaine to try to feed whatever they're doing, right? If you need to be involved to that level and you want to feel inclusion, you want to be part of the solution to what ails America, then I would just investigate it a little bit further, and maybe get down to your local range and practice a little bit. The sniper rifles, the Marlins, whatever they're going to issue on the boat, are perhaps a little bit uh, different than what you're used to at home. Your Remingtons or whatever you're working with back in the hizzy. But yeah, just keep an open mind. Think of it as you doing your part for national security. Right? If these ICE agents can just go and kill whoever why do they get all the fun? I'm a taxpayer. Why the F am I not allowed to participate in this particular activity, which would make me feel closer to dear leader? He'll see me as a patriot and a hero, right? This is the guy that bagged the most humans in the Caribbean on this last cruise. He got a medal. Okay, something. Yeah, it's still being workshopped, and it's dark times. So got to find absurdity where you find it, and when you're done with that little diversion, then get back to loving your family, and as I suggested earlier, these the doldrums of approaching February. We're getting closer to the collective action assignment, if you will, which doesn't take much doing. Is if you belong to a church, a community center, a bowling league, whatever sort of organization, wherever your team assembles, and your family. One thing you could do that would not be too onerous, too much of a time suck, is appoint yourself the voter registration chaplain, right? Make sure that everybody in your family is registered. If you require, if you desire or require mail-in ballots, make sure you're signed up for it now. Don't wait till October. Excuse me. That, and be a little bit, I know some people are a little bit not wanting to get involved in other people's. Don't. I'm not suggesting that you try to influence other people in their voting decisions, unless they're your family and you feel compelled to. But wherever you assemble to see other humans and get some facial validity reflections, then what could be a more productive use of a few minutes of your time than to make sure you're okay, your family's okay, and then your team. Don't want to bring that in the workplace. The voting thing, that's kind of sensitive. Unless you can get you own the company, then you know provide voter registration information, not just red or blue, but you could give general information. It's not indoctrination. It's not duress. But if you have not registered to vote, do. Be aware of the fact that Christy Nome is going to be gone. Pamela Joe Bondi is not collecting voter roll information from trying to collect it from all 50 states. She's not doing that to check spelling. She's doing that because that will give her the ammunition to develop strategies to disrupt lawful, orderly process of voting in states where the federal government has no role in that. She's demanding the information, as you heard. She, in the most despicable, one of the more despicable acts on a long list that she has committed since she's been in office, is saying that, well, if Minnesota gives me their voter roll information, then the ice will be withdrawn, which gives a lie to the entire reason for the operation and shows what a miserable piece of shit everybody in the administration is. I was listening today on the press conference to Scott Besson. Just, this is a billionaire, the one that claims that he's also a bean farmer, but just, the shoe licking, boot licking, butt licking of Donald J. Trump. And, this is perhaps, did he, in his earlier life, when he was making his billions, was he likely to get into a meeting in the business that he owned and lie to his team? No, because they wouldn't stand for it. You don't keep people, but this is part of it's a Project 2025 playbook, which people get tired of hearing, but it doesn't make it less true. Is just repetition of the lies makes it, people switch off, and all of a sudden it sticks, you know? So, but to hear Besant, Rubio, Pamela Joe Bondi, uh, and the others, um, Oh, the team from, not Jared, but, his, partner in the that's just, it's just between, um between Vladimir Putin that Trump said 4 or 5 times in the period that I was watching that he had called his friend Vladimir and asked him not to bomb Ukrainian cities because it was cold, right? Like a humanitarian appeal to Vladimir Putin. Obviously, the facts aren't in because he just said it today. I'll bet against that. And I'll leave you with this, just as I just said, mention betting going into the Super Bowl. I'm going to definitely tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be tight. Um, uh, Other outside of appointments, but perhaps on the weekend we're approaching. Sunday will be 1 week out from the Super Bowl, and I read an awful lot about sports betting. I used to have a business interest and a more prurient interest in sports betting. And the only participation I have in that space, other than uh, study, reading, and advocacy, um, is when little horsies run around the track in Hong Kong. Which, if you're looking for me on Wednesday mornings between 5:30 and 11, 5:30 and 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, you won't find me unavailable. And then sometimes they do that on the weekends, and that's kind of an upside down time. So I don't participate quite as frequently in that. But the legalized sports betting has been here with us now long enough to have reliable data on the damage that it's doing to our kids, the financial impact on households, on as a it's a gambling is an addiction. People seek treatment for gambling addiction, but just even beyond the worst case scenario, there's the sort of the corrosive effect of sports gambling on these beautiful sports that we know and love. I am not. I used to be a sports, not from a gambling perspective, but a sports freak. I'm all Boston. What do we have? Yeah, I'm going to guess this is that's the Red Sox. Um, but whether it's a Boston Bruins, the hockey, the New England Patriots going into the Super Bowl, the Boston Celtics, only 18 world championships, or the Red Sox. I grew up in the greatest sports town in the world. I was a kid in Boston, Massachusetts, which is and was always the greatest sports town in the world because you're a Real Madrid fan. Excellent. You are a fan of any of the English the soccer teams, football teams from wherever it is, PSG in France, wherever you Dortmund, whoever you love, right? No shade. But often these cities have one or maybe two, except for New York, LA, Chicago, and Boston. It's a one or two team opportunity, and that's great because the fans live and die by their one or two teams. Boston, we have it. The love is spread out, but it's a rabid fan base. and dedicated. And as you know about or you're learning perhaps about people that my people affectionately refer to as massholes, is that we go deep and we can hold a grudge in a a sports sense, like like a Yankees fan just walked by or something, not a grievance like your illustrious leader, Donald J. Trump, allowing it to sort of fester and affect every decision you make you behave in erratic ways, make you seem like a petulant prick. No, that's different. That's grievance. That's something a little bit more, something that's maybe treatable, but obviously hasn't been in his case. So I'm love of sports. What I used to, when I gambled, it was, believe it or not, a lot on golf and on the horsies, right? And now it's just the horsies, and it's only the ones that gallop in Hong Kong because of because the Hong Kong Jockey Club ensures there's no hanky panky. There is remarkably little influence because there are these big syndicates here in the United States that can make markets move, and that happens in Hong Kong too. But they can't nefarious influence won't be tolerated. And if you behave and you do things that you behave badly in China, which Hong Kong is, now fully on China, and they run also in Shatin, and they're working on the third track as well. There is now a practice track, and they're going to have a third commercially viable track going, I don't know, next year or so. Um, that's a place you don't want to FAFO with the regulatory authorities in China, because guess what? You may go away for a very long time, and appeal is not always an option, right? We still have a functioning court system here under pressure, under tremendous stress, under strain, and the bottom is much stronger than the top. It's kind of a some pyramid sort of thing where the Supreme Court is in the bag for Trump. The intermediate courts, it's kind of a more open question, and the federal district courts, what they call the inferior courts, which is kind of neat. Um, the trial courts and the federal trial courts are doing this heroic tasks, keeping these bovinos, and then the justice chimes in, and freaking Kavanaugh stops, comes in and upsets the apple cart, says something absolutely batshit and ridiculous, tries to walk it back, but kind of the cat's out of the bag. The low level people that are enforcing these stops, they said, well, profiling. Did you hear what Brett Kavanaugh said? Of course we can do that. They're black, they're brown. That's suspicious. We'll stop. He said that we can just stop them and for a reasonable period of time. So, couple weeks, just lock them up, let them stew, do whatever. Brett Kavanaugh, a Supreme Court justice, just gave us the permission slip to fuck with black and brown people. A Supreme Court justice just did that. Well, he walked it back. No, he said it. So it's okay. Right. So that's the world we're living in. And compared to China, like everything else in China, it's Xi Jinping and nobody else until there are rumors of a failed coup attempt by military officers. We'll learn a little bit more, or people will die and will learn nothing. China's it's a different ballgame. But, you know, uh, you don't want to FAFO with you want to start get involved in fixing races in China. Oh no, no, you don't want to do that. That would not end well. So so that's why I just play in that one little pool. They're the deepest um, parimutuel betting pools in the universe because it's a clean game. You know, it's you can count on the free data, full fields, and because they're kind of quote unquote Hong Kong is on an island because it is an island, but they're effectively on an island because you're not competing. Singapore's closing down or closed down last few months, and they're not flying around and competing because of quarantine. They don't want illness to creep into their relatively small horse population because it would be catastrophic to the industry and not nice to the horses. So, in any case, I was working on a separate feed for February 1st on that subject, but it isn't going to happen until March just because of time. So yeah, it's been a pleasure. You may hear a little bit of barking because I think that the beautiful puppy's mommy just came in the door, so there can be some excitement when that happens. Should be from me as well, right? Yeah, so sign up, Miller's Crossing. It'll be uh, it'll be an adventure that you'll remember for the rest of your life. Just remember which end of the rifle, goes your shoulder. Just get some tips. And if you're drinking while you're firing, then yeah, just be a little bit careful. It's not like you're going to be convicted of any crimes out there. Look at what's happened so far. They're just killing whoever they want, and they're doing it in American City. So, but still, if you think that you would have sleepless nights, killing black and brown people in floating in boats, you may justify that as, I paid I paid full price for the ticket. But what if you shot one of the other people, the passengers on the boat, and they happen to be white? So you might have some problems with that. Maybe you have trouble sleeping, or just drink more whiskey. Which may be the bourbon and branch water, maybe the MAGA antidote to buyer's remorse on Donald Trump. So pleasure as always, and wishing you have a more fact-based uh, pod tomorrow. Enjoy your evening. Pleasure as always. Thank you very much, and good night.